but it really matches well. It blends seamlessly with the hair that he has on the side of his head. You would not know that this is a hair system. Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. I came across a hair system on a guy that I saw last week, and it really blew me away how brilliant this system was. So I really wanted to share it with you guys because in my opinion, this is the absolute peak when it comes to hair systems. So I've spoken to the chap before. I've had his permission to share these images, but before I crack on with this, a message from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor, guys, is Livivid. You can find them at livividhair.com. You can get a 15% discount code on any stock hair system or accessories that I've negotiated with them just for you guys. It's Adam15. All the information is in the description box below this video. If you want high quality hair systems with good shipping times and top customer service, consider Livivid. So guys, Livivid's hair systems, I wear them. If you're interested, please don't forget that 15% discount, which was just mentioned earlier. It's great value for money, top quality hair systems. So I'm going to take you over to my computer screen now to show you images of this gentleman, and I'm going to show you before he had a system, and then I'm going to go through a series of pictures of him wearing the system, and I'm going to sort of pick out a few little things which I thought were absolutely incredible, and it'd be great to hear your opinion too. So let's have a look at the before picture. So here he is, completely shaved head. When you look at the ears, actually, he's got a good face shape for a bald head, but we know that doesn't really count for much when your confidence is hit so hard by the lack of hair on your head. So let's move on to the first image, which is the frontal. So for a little bit of context, this is a base, or it's a poly perimeter with a lace base. So it's lace at the front and a poly around the sides, so it's known as a hybrid system. I'm not 100% sure whether it's Swiss or French lace at the front, he didn't tell me, but gathering by the general realism of the frontal, I'd say it's probably a Swiss, but it could also be a French. Now, what I really like initially about the front of the hair system is it's not perfectly curved, and that's brilliant because most natural hairlines are not perfectly curved. If anything, when you see a perfectly curved hairline, it indicates that it might actually not be the person's hair. Whereas this one, it just looks super natural. There is a bit of recession around the sides, which I really, really like. Important to note as well that there's pretty much the perfect amount of density at the front of this system. And I'll show you a few other photos of this system from the side and the back and the top, where you can actually get a real feel for what the density is. I think this kind of density is perfectly appropriate for the age of this gentleman. I think he's in his 50s. I could be mistaken. I think he's in his 50s. But it just looks natural. It's not too thick, but it's also not too thin. So this next picture is a side profile. And what I want to pick out here is the colour blend. So you can see on his sides that he's quite sort of greyish white, sort of hair around the lower end of the sides here, and then it sort of goes a little bit darker towards the sort of upper end of his natural hair on the sides. And what I really like is the system itself has replicated this, so you can see there's greys, but you can also see there's darker hairs as well. If I were to estimate the percentage of grey on the top, it's very hard to estimate based on an image, especially one angle, but that could be maybe a 20 to 30% grey, but it really matches well. It blends seamlessly with the hair that he has on the side of his head. You would not know that this is a hair system. So this is a bird's eye view, and what I really like is that you can see it's not too full again. So you can see around the crown here, and even at the side, it's sort of, you can see it's a bit thinner than your bog standard average system. So if you were to order a 100 to 110% system, which are the ones I usually go for, what you would not see are any sort of thinning bits around here. But it works because you look at the guy's age, and most people around that age, if they've got hair, it's going to be around this density. I think this density is probably maybe a 70%, maybe a 60%, but it works for his age profile and the fact that his hair is sort of thinning and he's getting older. I would actually say, when I look at the top now, and this is why it's so important to have different angles on this kind of thing, is that I'll probably say it is more than 20 to 30% greys. I'd say it's maybe 40, maybe more, maybe 50. But it works. It works really well with the natural hair. And now we're moving on to the crown. If I had one criticism of the system, and it's such a minor criticism, it's real nitpicking, I'd say that possibly the crown is a bit too far forward on his head. And that's a very minor criticism. However, the angle could be a bit funny. So it could actually be in the correct spot. We don't know. It also indicates to me that this is probably a stock system. I wouldn't think that this is a custom. Custom systems, you'd expect the crown to be further back. And the crown itself does look a little bit big. Also, just around here, you can sort of see where the system does end and the natural hair begins, but that might be as a result of it just being cut, and sometimes the natural hair needs to grow out a bit more to make it look a bit thicker and blend more naturally with the hair system. But overall, it's a fantastic result. This is what you should be aiming for, guys. You know, if you're looking for a system that suits your age profile, the amount of percentage of greys you've got, if you like having your hair up and you want to have a really realistic hairline. I mean, I've always emphasized on my channel that it doesn't really matter to me that much, but if it's important to you and you want that good hairline, you know, this is what you should be aiming for. And then this is one last one with the stylist in the background, and you can just see again how the system just really nicely blends. You know, the stylist has perfectly blended the system with the natural hair and probably thinned it out a bit to make sure that it has the most natural transition from the actual hair system to the gentleman's natural hair, or bio hair as we call in the hair system industry. Now, I've been informed that this system did come from International Wigs in Kingsport, Tennessee, which is where this gentleman got it from. I don't know if they're a manufacturer themselves or whether they source it from somewhere in China. I'm honestly not sure, but it's a really good result. The actual system itself is fine, but I also think it's important to credit the stylist here because he or she, whoever it might be, has done a really fantastic job at thinning it out to, apologies about that noise, I think it's a helicopter, has done a really good job of thinning it out and making it look as natural as possible and blending it perfectly with the gentleman's side hair. I mean, you would not know this is a system. And I think this is where it's really hard to actually get it just right. When you've got people in their 50s and 60s, when, you know, generally men's hair sort of thins out around that age, it's really important to get the right density, really important. You can get away with thicker densities when you're younger, but when you're in this age bracket, it can be really difficult to get exactly the right density, the right percentage of greys, and the right amount of realism if that matters to you. But I think this ticks every single box and I was super impressed by it. Now guys, if you want to support the content and help this channel grow, please do subscribe, and I promise that I'll be making more and more content like this where I can sort of review hair systems, realism, density, greys percentage, all of that kind of stuff, to give you guys more insights on getting the best hair system for you. If you've liked this content, please do give it a thumbs up, help my channel grow within this vast YouTube algorithm. And as a final point, what do you think of this system? It'd be really great to hear you guys' opinions on what you think of this system. Is it as good as it gets? Could it be better? Is there any feedback you'd like to give on it? I think it's absolutely amazing. It's one of the best I've seen. And I think this might be this gentleman's first system, or at least his first one in about 30 years. So kudos to him because this is fantastic.